Good morning, everybody. Sorry I've been out for about a week and some change, actually. We went on vacation to, you'll never guess. I never thought I would make it there, honestly. We went to Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos is a British territory, so you do have to have a passport if you're flying from the United States. But when I tell you I highly recommend the islands of Turks and Caicos, I highly recommend. We really enjoyed ourselves. We actually went out to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. We got married in Jamaica 2 years ago, and that's kind of where we started our island hopping adventure. That was the first island that we had ever been to. My husband's a Pisces. I am an Aries, but I do love the water, so we really enjoyed our time in Jamaica. That was the first island that we've ever went to. So then our first anniversary, we got the fam together, we brought the rents, and we went to Key West. Key West was nice. It was a little overpopulated for an island, so like parking and stuff was kind of a nightmare, but as for the city, it was a beautiful city. If you do have a chance, I would recommend Key West. They aren't known, even though you would think that they might be known for their beaches. Their beaches really aren't where they excel in Key West. It's more about like the historical environment and stuff like that. But so that was our second island. And then we did an excursion out in Key West. You can take a boat, a ferry boat, out into the middle of the ocean. It'll bring you to a national park called Dry Tortugas. It has a huge, it's an island, so that would have been our third island that we've been to. But Dry Tortugas is off of Key West, and it's an old military fort. It was actually built, I think, by the British, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure, I'd have to go fact check myself on that. But it was really cool. It's the least visited national park because it is so hard to get to. The ferry ride was like $200. Hey everybody, good morning. Good morning. So we're talking about island hopping and how fun it can be. We just got back last night from Turks and Caicos, which I highly recommend. When I tell you we enjoyed ourselves so much, the water was unbelievably blue, like unbelievably blue. The environment was beautiful, and so Dry Tortugas was our third island. Like I said, we've been island hopping for the past 2 years. So we looked everywhere in the Caribbean and then outside of the Caribbean and settled on Turks and Caicos. I posted one short from there so far, but I will be doing like a vlog. So if you're interested to know what we did and where we stayed and how you can get there yourself, I would highly recommend it if you are somewhere near. It's considered to be in the Atlantic, most of it, but some of it is in the Caribbean, depending on what side you're on. But yeah, so we just got back from there literally last night at 10:30, and now I'm back on the road on my way to work. We're gonna be very busy today. We took off a week, so usually we work double time, triple time, but that's okay. But anyway, so I just wanted to share with you guys that I never dreamed that I could afford to go to Turks and Caicos, and we went. So you always have to just look at your options. I'm really good at finding cool locations for vacations, but I do very deep dives. I don't just like pick one place and like, okay, this place is fine. Like when I tell you I looked at what's the Beach Boy song? I looked at Aruba, Jamaica, all the like little small islands. We looked at the Bahamas, and then we settled on Turks and Caicos. I'll say, like, we felt very safe there. It was maybe the location that we were in, but it was not a threatening country by any means. It looked like there was plenty of work. People were happy. You do have to watch your P's and Q's when you're in any other country, naturally. That's just normal. But the only catch over there is that you have to drive on the left side of the road. So that was pretty interesting. Hard to break a habit like that. But it was really fun. So I highly recommend you looking into island hopping, just because it's an experience that most people have never had. So save up your money. Not all islands have to be expensive, you know. I would say Jamaica is actually very affordable if, you know, your flights aren't too expensive, if you don't live too far from Jamaica. Jamaica can be a little bit more dangerous, but hey everybody, good morning. Sorry I've been out for a little while, but I will be posting some really cool content from Turks and Caicos, so stay tuned for that. I'll give you guys as much information as I have to help you guys if you would like to plan a trip. And then we're going to get back on our grind on here. I did post my video on how to calculate your calorie needs. So we're going to go back into nutrition and hula hooping naturally. I caught some cool hoop videos, had some cool hoop spots out there in Turks and Caicos. The weather was beautiful. In the Caribbean, if you do plan it, just be aware that the forecast might say rain, 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 but it rains almost every day, just a little bit in the Caribbean. For the most part, the weather is sunshine, or if there's like a big development coming in, you know, you want to pay attention to that. But don't listen to the weatherman. We were super discouraged and we were like, oh no, it's gonna rain the whole time. And when I tell you, maybe 5 drops rained on us. So I think that's just a normal thing out there, because the same thing happened when we went to Jamaica. Turks and Caicos is a lot further. It is on the Atlantic side of the ocean. But considering, like, a lot of people think that it's so expensive, but it wasn't cheap by any means, but it wasn't completely unaffordable if you do save up money and you know, throughout the year for a vacation, or for a special vacation if you have one once every 5 years. You know, that's kind of what we do. We'll do mini vacations throughout the year, or, you know, for a couple years, and then we'll go on a bigger vacation like this. So it's not something that we do every year because they are expensive, but Turks and Caicos is definitely worth saving up some money and going check it out for yourself. We were on island time all week, so I hope I'm on time for work. Everything was like really cool, not a whole lot of sense of urgency out there. We stayed in an Airbnb. We did go to a couple of the resorts, which I would say the resorts are Americanized. A little, you know, changes the flow of things. Like, I would recommend staying in an Airbnb. You do have to rent a car. A car is a necessity, even though you drive on the left side of the road and you might not drive a lot. They do not have taxi services or Ubers out there, to my knowledge, or very little to supply the demand. Groceries for the week, because the islands have to import almost everything. You know, islands don't have all the resources that we do here on land. So our grocery bill was a whopping $700 for a week. So that's just a heads up. You definitely want to have some extra money whenever you do go out there. But that's pretty much all we spent money on besides an excursion. And then we had a couple expensive dinners that aren't necessary if you don't have the budget for it. Thanks everyone. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. I didn't have the internet for a week. I panicked for a day or two, and then I actually really enjoyed it. You know, the last thing you should be doing when you're in the middle of a beautiful island is doom scrolling on your phone. Even though it's just it's a habitual thing with us. It's like, I didn't think about it until my husband was on his phone. Then I was like, oh wait, I don't have the internet. You know, like, it's just like smoking or any bad habit that you have. It could be habitual. You could be doing it just to do it, just out of habit. So once I broke that, I was free of the internet. It felt really nice, you know, just to be able to sit back, enjoy life, think a little bit, you know, not just sit there for every extra second that we have on our phones. So I highly recommend Turks and Caicos. Okay, so Turks is the main island, Providencial. And then Caicos, they have multiple Turks islands, but then the Caicos are a different set of islands. It's just like a cluster of them together. So you can say that we unlocked 2 new islands, Turks and Caicos. The first one that we went to was Jamaica. That's where we got married. Then we went to Key West, Dry Tortugas, which is the least visited national park. It has a huge fort on it. That was our first time snorkeling, was in Dry Tortugas, which is accessible from Key West. We had a very good snorkeling experience. Sometimes all the equipment, the flippers, the sand, the mask, the water, it can be overwhelming. But when we went to Dry Tortugas, oh cool. How was St. Thomas and Cocoa Beach? I've heard a lot of good things about St. Thomas. All of that area is really, really nice. You know, it's some place that a lot of people don't think about for vacation, but I would much rather save up money to go to somewhere cool like that for 2 years than to go to the same beach every year. That's just my personal opinion. You know, I'm a little explorer. I like to venture out. But like I said, at Dry Tortugas, that's where we found our first love for snorkeling. We were laughing because we had such a good experience. We put on our flippers, put on our snorkeling gear. The water was really calm out there. And my dad did it with us. Well, he did not have the same experience. He struggled. He had to walk backwards into the ocean because he put his flippers on too soon. So we just so happened to have a very nice, pleasant experience. Like I said, the water was really calm. We didn't see anything too crazy. You could see like a couple like shipwrecks and like anchors underneath. So there was like a reef out there. But then, you guys, and Turks and Caicos, oh my god, like the snorkeling was crazy. We actually took an excursion out into the middle of the ocean. The snorkeling was not nearly as good as right in front of where we stayed. We stayed at a place, it's called Turtle Cove. The water was pretty calm, calmer than it was in the ocean on our excursion. And you did feel a little bit safer because you were close to the land. But the coral reef in Turtle, sorry guys, had a little phone call come through. Sharks and Caicos. Oh cool, you've been there? How'd you like it? Like I said, we really enjoyed it. We personally did not see any sharks, but someone did when we went to Iguana Island, which is Little Cay. It is part of Caicos. That's where we went on our excursion that day. I'm not sure if they saw it from land or from in the ocean, but the captain did say that the sharks tend to want to be around that island for whatever reason. So I was hoping not to run into a shark. There's this new, it's on streaming. I'm not sure exactly what streaming it's on, but it's a girl who grew up in Hawaii, and she's pretty much like the shark whisperer. I think that might be the name of it. But we watched that before we went, and she was just saying that sharks are not necessarily these monsters that everyone makes them out to be, not just looking out to go eat you in the ocean. That a lot of it is just like a mutual respect thing, or a lack of fear. You know, you don't want to be fearful of them and give them bad vibrations. So we have to, like the captain on our adventure said, the biggest threat to you in the water is the water itself. So we want to respect the ocean. You want to leave it the way that you saw it, the way that you got there. So you don't want to take away from it. You don't want to, like our captain, there was a bunch of boats out there and they put down on the coral reef, and he was like, I will absolutely never do that. And I totally respect that. It's like, it takes a long time for things like that to develop, and that's what I say, like when we're getting too like Americanized, it's like, yes, it's nice to go out there and swim with the fish, but there's no reason to damage the coral reef in the meantime. So like I said, I would highly recommend Turks and Caicos. We felt very safe out there. The driving was really the scariest part, being on the opposite side of the road. And then we got back to America and it's like, whoa, okay, back to the right side of the road. But we did see quite a few turtles in Turtle Cove. They were like, we would swim up a channel that was between the coral reef. It was just like a sandbar kind of. And we would swim up that. Well, apparently it's where the turtles would swim too, because we were snorkeling. I don't know if I've been saying scubaing. I've been calling it scuba all week, but we were snorkeling. And we see a turtle at the bottom. He's eating. He's chill. He has a little fish cleaning his back. So I'm like, okay, namaste. Don't panic. He's far from us. Turtles aren't aggressive either. Well, then all of a sudden I turn around and there's a turtle like literally hot on my trail. So I panic a little bit. I didn't super panic, but I started, wailing in the water and looking for my hubby. But it was like the coolest experience, really, like just swimming down the channel with all the fish and the turtles. Like the fish are beautiful out there. They're tropical fish, so they're very colorful. And the turtles were huge. But yeah, so always, like when you're planning an excursion or an adventure, always look at all the options, because some places that you might have not thought that you could afford, you can afford if you pick the right location. Airbnb has really changed the game in that aspect too, because all these places, it was just like a hotel room. Yes, they have amenities on the property that cost a small fortune also, but Airbnb has changed the game where you can get something affordable almost anywhere. It's like sometimes you might have to sparse on beach access, something like that, if you don't have a whole lot of money. But that's not a reason not to go to Turks and Caicos, or anywhere that you want to go. So always keep your options open. Never let your little mind limit you, because opportunities are endless if you do good planning and save up money and work hard. Try to work hard every year, work your way up. and just gain more access to a little bit more freedom, because that's something that we don't have a whole lot of in corporate America. I know I'm about to walk into work. It's going to be crazy. I have hoop stuff I have to catch up on. I did close my hoop shop while I was out, so I wouldn't have orders piled up whenever I got back. But I am reopened, if you notice that. My Etsy shop is back open, and we're getting back to business, y'all. So I'm going to, now that I got the how to calculate your calories, if you want to go check that out, or my last live is from Turks and Caicos. I'm gonna have some really cool, I'm sorry, not live, my last short is from Turks and Caicos. So just make sure, if you aren't already subscribed, to subscribe. And I have some cool stuff coming up in the future. I can't wait to share it with you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day.